Welcome to the Holley Hub. Here's our 2 cents on current events. Hi, my name is Mr. DeMoro, and welcome to the Holley Hub. We are coming to you from the Holley High School Library today, and this will be kind of the pilot introduction of our entirely student-driven podcast, which is going to be run by the Current Events elective class that I am the teacher of. This should be the only time, hopefully, you're hearing my voice besides the intro, which the students asked me to do as well. We're looking to get this podcast out twice a month, and the podcast will have multiple segments. So to kind of take you through the segments just briefly and give you an explanation of what they are, so when the first episode comes out, you can just fall right in and start listening and you kind of have an idea what's going on. The first segment you're going to hear is The Beat with Norman Bibbs. That's hosted by Dan Norman and Eli Bibby. That show is going to kind of take you through some hard news. They're going to report news in kind of up-to-the-minute fashion and give you the best idea of what's going on in the world. Now, with the podcast, it's going to be hard to keep things up to date as best as possible. So sometimes, if you're listening to an episode that was recorded a week ago, that news can change. I can tell you that they are doing a great job and they're doing their best to keep the news up to date and have that segment recorded last as we prepare for a podcast. Then the next segment you'll hear is Grinds My Gears. I have to stress that Grinds is spelled Greins. That is because this show is hosted by Jake Peters and Jordan Grine. This show will basically be an entire segment of Jake Peters complaining about things he does not like. Should be quite interesting. Our thought process behind this, was to just have a little bit of an uplifting, kind of funny thing right after such hard news. The next show you'll hear is called The Wings, where the left and the right meet. That's going to be hosted by Manny Marsh and Aubrey Kruger on the left, and Dan Norman and Mike Snell and Joel Moore on the right. The Wings is kind of going to be like that old Crossfire show that you saw on CNN, where you had political pundits from the conservative and liberal side sort of meet and discuss things. Our class this year, total 15 students in current events, and I have to tell you that politically they're pretty interesting. There's not a lot of clear right and left folks, so that show is going to be varied week to week. In the first episode, you're going to hear them discuss the Electoral College and be debating the significance of it, if it should be kept, thrown out, or somewhat modified. The next segment you're going to hear is Tea Time with Greg, hosted by Greg Morrell. Greg is a hardcore tea drinker, and the students kind of came up with that segment because they wanted to kind of show how interesting Greg can be with his tea selection. He'll be reviewing tea and interviewing influential people in our community each episode. For the first episode, we were very fortunate to have Mr. Bartolo, our new superintendent, come in and agree to be interviewed. That's going to be a great segment. Make sure you catch that in the first episode. The next segment we have is going to be our shortest one probably, and it's called The United States of Jana. And it's hosted by Jana Grasshoff, and she's our exchange student from Germany. She's going to do a great job of talking about how her experience has been so far each episode and things she finds interesting about the United States. I think for the first time she's going to talk about the United States' patriotism. So that should be an interesting take that she gives us each episode as well. She also might be speaking in German, so that'll be a little added benefit as well too. The last segment you're going to hear from is Youthful Yackings. That's hosted by Indigo Richards Dyson, who is also our manager of the podcast, and Erica Mendoza. This is going to be a really, really great segment that I'm excited about, not only because it closes each podcast, but because it's going to be a chance for people to really see issues that are important to youth culture and to young Americans today. Indigo and Erica are going to get really into some hard topics to talk about for young Americans, but they're also going to have some fun with that segment too. So I think it'll be a good chance for each generation of people to sort of see what's important to the other. Young Americans care about more important things than I think the older generations kind of give them credit for. Please subscribe and listen to our YouTube page. You can find us at Holley Hub on YouTube if you just kind of put us in the search. If things aren't working out right away, just be patient with us because we're going to have to get some bugs worked out as well. Our Twitter page is up and running, though, which is going to be awesome. It's at Hub Holley, and even if you just Twitter search Holley Hub, it'll still come up as well. Please make sure to follow us there, and we'll be putting the links to the podcast from YouTube up there as well. Got to say a special thanks to Jeremy Crandall and Cody Tanis. Jeremy's our head editor and Cody's his assistant. These two work really, really hard. They're not in any of the podcast segments or shows, but they work behind the scenes tirelessly to make sure that things are going well, working with our Audacity program, which is the program we use. They're the ones making sure everything goes off without a hitch, so they're very important. Our other staff includes Maddie Marsh is the assistant manager of our podcast. She's also on the wings. Assistant to the assistant, which is an awkward position, but Aubrey Kruger is Maddie's assistant. Our head editor is Jeremy, and our head researcher is Greg Morrell. Our production team for PR is going to be Joel Moore, Dan Norman, and Mike Snell. And then the rest of the students like Ryan Zadarecki, Jake Peters, Yana Grasshoff, Jordan Grine, Greg Morrell, besides being on their individual segments, will also be researchers and editors for other shows as well. So this is an all-team effort. One last thank you, especially to Mrs. Ozier, who is our librarian here at Holley. She's done a wonderful job getting the quiet room set up for us. The studio's all set every day. Sometimes you might get some feedback from some students in the library. We thought that was kind of just a cool thing, kind of give you an ambiance of what it's like here in the Holley Library each and every day. So thank you very much for joining us. We hope you catch the first episode. Please subscribe to our page, and we hope you enjoy the podcast.